another On Base Baseball video. My name is Brian Hafferkamp and I'm the designer of On Base Baseball. I'm happy to announce in this video a new set. So this is called the 1970s Decade Roster Sheet Set. And what this is every player who played, every batter who got into a game, every pitcher who got into a game from 1970 to 1979. Now, these are not cards, these are just roster sheets. And you can see on the screen here, this is the 1972 batters. So these are the hitters who got into a game in 1972. You can see this first. Well, it's organized by team. So you can see these guys are guys who either a free agent, well, I guess they weren't free agents, but they were traded sometime during the season, and then it starts with the guys who stayed on their team for the entire season. But you can see it's just sheet after sheet of every player who played, and you can see here that our three key values for playing on-base baseball are first. So you have the name, you have the player name, you have the team, and then you get right into it. So the batting runs are here, defensive values here, and speed value is here. And then you get into sort of their non-traditional and traditional stats. These are the same statistics that would go on to the cards if you've played with the cards before. But instead, you just have sheet after sheet of every player who got in. So this is the perfect game if you love to play as-played lineups. You want to play a fully as-played season. There's no one with too few at-bats here. You have this guy here. So Mel Queen for the Angels in 1972 had 2 at-bats, played in 17 games. He gets rated. So you have every player, regardless whether they played 1 inning, they got into pinch run, never got an at-bat, whatever their situation is, they are in this roster sheet. And the same goes for 1970, 71, all the way through 1979. So you get 10 full seasons, 10 decades of baseball. And as we move down, you can see that there's also the batters end here, and then the pitchers begin. So then you have the same thing with pitchers who moved teams that year, and then starting with Atlanta, you have your pitchers here. This is their FIP rating. So in 1972, we didn't have Sierra, so we're using FIP. And the second value is a stamina rating. So if you've played the game, you know that these are sort of the 2 key ratings values that we use in the game. So you have those right next to the player name and team as well. So then you get into the player statistics again. These are the same stats that would have been on the player cards themselves. I've been playing several games with this, just sort of testing it out, and it's been very cool. It's a different experience. I can imagine if you wanted to print these out, two-sided. There's about 25 batter pages, and there's about 10 pitcher pages for these different seasons. You'll also get the On-Base Baseball Scorecard, which I try to include with every set that I put out there. And this scorecard has been specifically created to include the 3 values, and it's never been more important as with the roster sets. So you can literally go through each player and input their values directly onto the score sheet. That way you're essentially just playing off of the score sheet and not having to go back and forth to the roster sheets all the time. It makes everything go a little bit quicker. It's a little more set up in the beginning, but I think in the end you'll find that the game itself plays much quicker. And so that's for both teams. You can actually do game totals over here. Plenty of space for pitchers, especially from the 70s. Most guys are going a little bit longer, so it's not quite as big a deal. 4 or 5 spots is going to be plenty of pitcher spots for the 1970s. And then the last part that I'm including that I'm really excited about, this is something I've wanted to do for a very long time, basically since I created the first game engine chart, was to actually create an era specific chart. So because this is the 1970s decade set, I'm actually changing the game engine chart and the outcomes and the percentages to match the 1970s. So what I've done is I've gone through both pitchers and hitters, separated them out into spreadsheets as groups of those hitters to try to get a sense of what is the average 30 plus hitter during the 1970s. What are his percentages of home runs and singles and walks and etc. Same thing with the column 2 hitters, column 3, column 4. I went all the way through, and I did the same thing with pitchers, and using K percentage and walk percentage, trying to align those to the decade itself, as opposed to using sort of modern, which the game engine originally was made for modern day baseball, which is definitely more home runs and more strikeouts. And so I think people were seeing some numbers that were a little bit out of whack, and tried to fix the doubles problem as well with the 70s game engine chart. And games are typically in the 6 to 9 total runs per game range, which I think is going to put it in line probably with the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So you'd be able to really have more lifelike, more realistic games using this. But you can see everything is still separated into the 4 columns for pitchers and for batters. So that has not changed, and you can see down here we have sort of our reference sheet for all of the different plays and the things that you might have to do. There's an addition of a long single in this sort of the newer versions of On Base, and so I updated the hit by pitch and the walk. It's the same. I just sort of updated the language here, and then we have our error checks and stealing and tag and base running and things like that. So everything is still here. It's just contextualized for the 1970s, and you'd play it exactly the same. You start on the pitcher side. If there's a blank, then you move over to the hitter side to the appropriate column. I'll also be including a quick start guide that's sort of specific to the roster sheets, but essentially if you're playing off of the scorecard, it's going to be very similar to playing with the cards. You just aren't flipping the cards over. And then finally, there is the On Base Dice Roller that you can always look up online. I'll show you how easy. I'm just doing a Google search for it, and it's here, the On Base Dice Roller app, and you can pull that up, and it gives you all of the values that you need, the 2 D6s and the D9. So if you don't have a D9 or you don't want to play with the D10, then you can actually use the On Base Dice Roller. I like to put it on my phone right next to where I'm playing, and it makes it quick to just hit the roll button and you get a new set. But if you like to hear the dice and you like to do the manual labor of the dice, that's cool too. You can use a D10 in place of a D9, and all you would need to do is if you hit a 0 or a 10, whatever your 10 is, you can re-roll, or you can use that for special plays, rare plays, that type of thing. So there's all kinds of ways that you can take On Base Baseball and you can sort of change it, make it what you want. That's the whole goal of the game, is that you get a game engine to fit to your gaming needs. And with this, I'm giving you sort of the keys to the kingdom as far as doing all the statistical work for you to find the values for every player from 1970 to 1979. And I hope to do more of these decade roster sets excuse me, as we go along. And so probably look for the 80s next. And I know a lot of gamers who are playing On Base are looking for the 70s or 80s. So probably move on to the 80s next. And if you have any questions or comments, if you would leave them in the comment section below this video, that'd be great. If you buy or purchase, I'd love to hear your reviews. Anytime you purchase a game from me, you have an opportunity to go back and leave a review on the game itself, the game page where you download it. And that's always super helpful for others whenever they're shopping or looking at a game to play. Is it what do other people think about it who've tried it. I really appreciate the On Base community. It's been growing much faster than I thought, and I really appreciate everyone who's supported the game. We're coming up at the end of April on our first year, and so that's been pretty exciting to just see how all of the different products and the games and the sets that I've put out have been received by everyone. So if you want to be a part of the community, you can join On Base on the Delphi forums. We have our own Delphi forum. There's also a Facebook group that you can join into and share your games. That's usually the places where I leave announcements, or you get a little insider information as I'm creating new seasons, new sets, new games, and yeah, we'd love to have you over there. I'll put the links to those in the description of this video. If you're seeing this on our PayHip site, click the button and go buy it. I think for $20, this is a really great deal. You're going to get $2 a season, and basically all it's going to cost you is how much it costs you to print, I don't know, 20 to 30 pages, and those could even be front and back. So there's an opportunity here to get a really good deal. It's not going to cost you a lot in printing costs because it's all black and white, and again, you can do front and back for these. If you would ever want laminated or something more permanent, just let me know. Maybe we can make that happen if you don't want to laminate your sheets yourself. All right, I think that's it. I'm really excited to introduce this game. I hope you're excited about it too. I know a lot of people have been asking for more 70s. So here we go. This is as much of the 70s as I can possibly give you, and I hope that you enjoy the game. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.